Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm Katie, a member of the CK-12 team, and my colleague Felix and I will be running this learning management breakout session on CK-12 and Canvas and Schoology. We're so glad you've joined us. We're offering this session as part of the 2019 CK-12 Certified Educator Program. It's an additional resource for those of you that are using Canvas or Schoology. Given the shorter nature of this session and the focus on a platform outside of CK-12, this session does not count toward your 5 live session requirement and does not have a matching assignment. We are still hosting it through a Zoom webinar to allow you to ask questions of us in Q&A and to network with other educators using these learning management systems, and you can do that through the chat window, making sure you click all panelists and attendees. If you have any technical issues or other questions, please just let us know. So while not a core offering, we have created a handy resource page for this webinar session. You can find it at the tiny URL, tinyurl.com/CK12 Canvas Schoology 2019. It's actually kind of a fairly long URL, but we wanted to get both names in there. And that is listed on the screen. We'll put a link for it in the chat window. And it's a reference page that you can find in the CEP Flexbook. Feel free to use it to follow along during this presentation or print it if you'd like at a later date as a reference. Please note it is one PDF, page 1 is Schoology, and page 2 is Canvas. So if you're looking for the Canvas one, just scroll down on that PDF. Now, given this is meant to be a short webinar specifically to highlight CK-12's integration with both Canvas and Schoology, let's jump right into the content. As we go, feel free to post any questions you have for us in Q&A window. In this webinar, we're going to cover the following topics. We'll start by talking about setting up CK-12 in your learning management system, so requesting access based on your enterprise or individual accounts. Please note that if you are using Schoology or Canvas, you should plan to assign content there and do not create a separate class within CK-12. We'll then jump into Canvas, creating assignments and seeing student scores, as well as detailed reports in your gradebook. And then we'll go into Schoology and talk about assignments and student scores within that gradebook. Our main goal is that by the end of this session, you will know about the LMS integrations we offer with Canvas and Schoology, including how to set them up, assign content, and review the reported scores within those platforms. In order to install CK-12 in Canvas or Schoology, your school or district first needs to get a key from CK-12 by filling out this request form. We recommend that whoever manages Canvas or Schoology for your school or district be the point person to request this key. We can message this in the chat window, but you can also find it on our integrations page found in this direct link, ck12.org/integrations, or in the footer under Tools and Apps, because it includes apps in Edmodo and a couple of other pieces. When you get there, click on CK-12 on Schoology or CK-12 on Canvas, and that will take you to that form. So with that, let me pass this along to Felix, and he will share more about setting up your learning management system.
Thanks, Katie. Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is, I guess, an admin settings page for Canvas. So basically, my account level right now is admin. I went down to settings here, and then this tab I have open, if you can see my mouse, is the apps page. And so what you want to do is look for CK-12. You can scroll down. You can also search. Easier. There you go. Click on CK-12. There's an option to add the app. The form that Katie had just mentioned, there's a link for that form here. It's a Google form. Once you fill that out, and that comes into us in about 24 hours-ish, we usually get back to you and we'll send you the key and secrets you need to install the app. Again, if you're using like an enterprise level account, or if your district manages your Canvas or Schoology instances, it's best to have whoever's managing install and set that up for you. That way you don't have to do it individually per like class within Canvas or Schoology. So from here, you can click Add App. It's going to ask you for your key and secret. By now, you should have gotten that from us when you're at this step. And then enter that and click Add App. And then that's pretty much it for installing. I'm going to switch over to Schoology. Okay. So This little icon up here is the App Center link. They kind of switched it in the past year or so. So now it's here. Click on that. Scroll down until you see CK-12. We're here. So again, the link for the key and secret is here, the form to fill out. So you'd want to fill that out. Once you have that, it's going to prompt you. And then you have, if you're an admin, you'll have this option to install for the whole organization. If you're just like a teacher or using the basic version, you'll probably just have this install for me option. But once you click on that, it's going to bring up a form to install it for your organization or for you, and then it's going to ask you for that key and secret. I won't do that now because it's already been installed. That's it.
Thanks, Felix. Let me switch back over to this for a second. And we're going to talk about Canvas first, but before I have Felix go into Canvas, both Canvas and Schoology allow you to assign content from CK-12 and selected resources from your CK-12 library or across the kind of whole system as we continue to update that. But just to give you a refresher or an introduction if you haven't joined us for any of our assignments and practice sessions, I want to go through what types of things you can kind of what you can assign and see progress for in Canvas and Schoology. So the first thing that is coming imminently within those is our Flexbook 2.0 lessons. You can assign regular Flexbook lessons right now, but our Flexbook 2.0 is a little bit different. That includes both the lesson with any kind of text that they might be doing or exploring, as well as the attached practice or quiz. And then other assignable resources within that include videos, simulations, Plix interactives, and real-world applications. So all of these types of options are available to be assigned within Canvas and Schoology. The combined Flexbook 2.0 lessons will be available shortly. So as I said, we cover many of these in depth in our other webinar sessions. We have a session specifically on Sims and Plix. We have a session on assigning practice and other kind of different types of modalities. So check those out if you haven't joined us already for one of those. But let's talk just for a quick second about what you're assigning and what is reported back to you. Now, this chart is available in our practice resource page. We will include that tinyurl.com CK-12 practice 2019 as well. So you can always just go to that section in your Flexbook and find that. So you do not need to memorize this immediately, but I just want to talk about how this works together. So if you assign our new Flexbook 2.0 lessons, as soon as those are available this summer, then it will assign the text and any kind of included pieces in there, but it won't give a score for any of that learning modality. It will just give a score for the attached practice, or it will just give a score for the attached quiz. Practice is based on a goal of getting 10 correct. So in your learning management system, let's say you set it for 50 points for that assignment, they get half of those right, so they get 5 correct, they would get a score of 25 in Canvas or Schoology. For a quiz, it's a true assessment score. So if you maybe have 20 questions and they get 10 right, then they would get half of the whatever score chosen that you had in your learning management system. For Flexbooks 2.0, if you made a brand new text for some reason and it didn't have practice or a quiz attached yet, they would get full or no credit for accessing and working through that lesson, but there's no kind of percent score included in there. If you were going to assign individual modality types, so the individual practice works the same way whether or not it's attached to a Flexbook lesson, and the same for a quiz. So 10 correct for practice is the goal, and then the quiz would be, the goal is all correct for the questions that you ask them. The other types of resources and modalities that you can assign within CK-12 and to Canvas or Schoology include regular text lessons, whether that's a read within a Flexbook or individually, videos, real-world applications, and either of our interactives. Those allow students to get full or no credit. So if they don't access it and turn it in, they have a 0 in your gradebook. If they do access it and turn that in, for the interactives, they have to start watching it or answering questions or something before they can turn it in, but that gives them that full score. So that this chart is available in the resource page for our Getting Started with Practice and Assignments section. So feel free to reference it there. You do not have to have this all memorized. But now that you've kind of seen just super briefly what those might be that you'd be assigning, we're going to pass this over to Felix so he can show you the integration with Canvas on CK-12.
Thanks, Katie. Pull up my screen for you guys. Make sure I'm in the right account, not the right one. Let's share a different screen. Okay. All right, so I am signed in as a teacher, and this is one of the courses that I have within Canvas. So first thing I'm going to do is go over to this Create Assignment, this plus assignment button. This probably looks familiar to those of you who use Canvas. The thing that you want to do down here is where it says submission type is select external tool if it's not already chosen. And then after you've had the app installed, click on find. We have this account has a lot of different apps, but yours should just have maybe CK-12 and hopefully just CK-12. So go ahead and click on our app. Actually, hang on one second. I wanted to show what's coming. So Katie had mentioned the Flexbook 2.0 assignments. And so I wanted to show that first to show you guys kind of what's coming. So this is the browse page. If you've been on our site, it should look pretty familiar. It's changed since the last time we've done this presentation or demo. So what I'm going to do is basically these math by levels are all of our Flexbook 2.0, new Flexbook 2.0 Flexbooks. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Algebra 1. So as you can see, it has pretty much the same layout as you see on if you're directly on our website. What I'm going to do is go into one of these sections here. I'll just go right into the first one. And I'm going to click on Start so I can get to the content. And so here you have this is the content for this section. Lots of different things. There's a Plix embedded here, another interactive here, and then I think that's it. What I'm going to do is scroll back up. There's also the practice here if you wanted to view that. I'm not going to do it right now with this teacher account, but I'll show you what that looks like from the student side. So once you kind of have a lesson that you want to assign, just click on Assign. And what this is going to do is basically it creates the assignment, and it created this link. Since this is a test account, it has a different URL. But basically, it creates this link for you, and then once you've done that, you can hit Select. So from this point, you have an assignment created from CK-12. Just to finish it up within Canvas, just give it a title. Down here, you can control what the point value is, assignment groups, different things like that. You can also select who you want to assign it to. That's kind of a nice thing that you can do within Canvas and also Schoology. For now, I'll leave that alone. You can set a due date. It doesn't really apply directly to the CK-12 assignment. Once you're kind of outside of our app, this is all things that are being managed by Canvas. So you can set a due date, probably just like you would do for any other assignment, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is hit Save and Publish. If you weren't done editing, you can just hit Save and then finish whatever you needed to before you publish it. So this is kind of what you would see as the teacher. It's basically the exact same thing, but now this is an assignment that's actually within your class. And so that's creating this isn't out yet, but this is what's coming. That's the Flexbook 2.0 assignments that we mentioned earlier. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the student side so you can see what that looks like. So let's go. Okay. Okay, so now I'm in my student account here. Let me just refresh. So that's the assignment that we just created. I'm going to actually go through a couple of these examples, and these are all Flexbook 2.0 assignments. So like Katie was mentioning earlier, these assignments can include, so it can be the read, this content here, and it can also have a practice. The practice is required if it has a practice or a quiz associated to it. The student must complete that first in order to turn the assignment in, so that if they go to turn it in, they'll see this little pop-up here says you haven't completed it yet. And that's just a sign that's saying that they have to go do the practice, and when they come back, they can turn it in. So one thing I just wanted to kind of point out is that you do have your notes and highlights here. So the students can highlight, make any annotations they want, and when they come back, it'll still be here for them. So that's a nice thing to have. And then also those embedded assignments, or sorry, interactive. So like this Plix here, you can still access that from the content. It's still there for them. I'm going to hit escape just to close this back out, and then I'm right back into the content. So I just kind of wanted to show an example of, if you haven't done the practice yet, kind of what happens. And this one has a practice associated with it. If it didn't have a practice or a quiz associated with it, they could just turn it in and get like full credit. So let me show you another assignment that I've already gone through and kind of worked on. So again, this is a student account. We're going through a couple of Flexbook 2.0 assignments, which is coming within the next month or so. So this one I've already sort of attempted, but let's say I'm the student. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So here you can see the report that they for my previous attempt. So the student can bring that up. It's all here. So now that I'm done, I'm satisfied with my attempt, I want to turn this in. I click turn in. It says you've submitted your assignment with a score of 100%. And so I am going to now go to the teacher side. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it. I just kind of wanted to show what this looks like and what's coming. So from the student side, I showed an example of an assignment that the practice hasn't been completed. So you get that little pop-up saying you need to finish it. And then once you actually attempt the assignment and you've done the practice, how you turn it in. And then there's one more quick thing. Do this guy. So this is the assignment that we just created. And so I'll show you what happens when you do the practice. So students may get here. I'm just going to pick something. And let's say they've gone through this and they're ready to stop, or they've gone through the whole thing, they got 100% and they're going to stop. I'm going to click stop for now. So this is kind of a new thing that happens with these assignments. So you're brought back to this sort of report screen. You may think you've submitted it, but you're not quite done yet. What you want to do is close this report page out. And then as the student, they're going to click on turn in. So until they actually click the turn in button, it hasn't been submitted. And then if I go over here to the grades, you can see it's updating the gradebook here. So that's just kind of like a quick overview of how to create assignments from the new Flexbooks 2.0. And let me stop here and
Thanks, Felix. We're gonna answer a couple questions that have come in. We have questions about highlighting and annotating. Those are currently only available within the account where those were made, so you're not going to currently see those for students. They can always screenshot them if they want, and we are looking into options kind of down the road for what that might look like. But right now, that's that piece. Felix was showing a Flexbook 2.0 lesson. Your kind of report and grade that goes with that is based on the attached practice or quiz. If you did want a separate grade for any content within that, you would need to assign that Plix or that video or something separately. So just make sure that you are aware that if you're assigning that lesson, you're assigning kind of the grade for the attached practice or quiz, but not any kind of included content from there. And then we have a question about an external tool. I know this has come up before. You have the option to open CK-12 in an external tool. And Felix, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your recommendation for Plix and Sims is to do that to get the full screen, but other ones can open in kind of either within that window or in an external tool based on what you want. And I think the last question that came in, let's see if there's any new ones that are coming in. There's one about sharing versus assigning. You are welcome to share any CK-12 content with your students by simply sharing a URL. If you need to share a custom Flexbook, you would need to publish it, or they would be asked to log into CK-12. And there are limits to how many Plix and Sim they can see, kind of just accessing CK-12 as a separate window without a CK-12 account. So if you do want them to see a bunch of different resources, we recommend that you assign that content to them. Even if you just want them to stay within the Canvas or Schoology platform. So I think there's one last question about how you see the report after they've submitted through Canvas. So maybe Felix, you can show that, and then we can talk about Schoology as well.
Sure. So let's see here. Practice. Okay, so I'm in a teacher account now. Oops. And I have a couple of assignments that have been submitted. So what I did was let me do that again. So from within the class itself, let me go back. I clicked on grades to get to the grade book, and then I'm going to click on the student's name. And so this brings up the student, and then if I go to one of these practice assignments, it'll actually take me to the submission. And then right here, I have access to the report page. So this is an actual student's report from the attempt that they submitted. It has the questions, how many they got right, the difficulty levels, etc. So it has the answers that they had, what they submitted versus the correct answer. That's all here. So that I did again. There you go. So I went to the gradebook. It's kind of buried here, so it's not the greatest. But click on the student name, and then from there, once you see an assignment and the ones that we actually have an actual report page for are practice and quiz assignments. All the other guys, there's no attached URL to see any extra reporting. I think with that, I'll switch over to Schoology, and then since the apps are the same, I'll show you guys how to create different types of assignments. But since the apps are exactly the same, so just the steps on getting there are a little bit different. So right now I've logged into Schoology. I'm in a teacher account. I'm in a course. So this app has already been set up for me. So what I'm going to do is go to Add Materials, and then right here, this is the CK-12 app. I'm going to click on that. This is the current app that's currently live. So this page here is going to look a little different. So what I will do is I'll go ahead and pick Earth Science, and let's take a look at planet Earth, and let's go just atoms and molecules. So you'll see a few different resources show up. The ones that you can actually create assignments for, the read, the Plix, the video, and practice are here, and also this real world example. So what I will do is, let's go ahead and show you a Plix. So what happened is this opened up a new window just to give you more real estate, and to be able to actually kind of preview the Plix itself. If you want to create the assignment, there's a button up here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Brings me back to this window, and it just dropped it right here. This constructing helium is the Plix. So there is one extra step within Schoology. So Canvas has a nice thing where it kind of keeps you within that assignment workflow where you're still kind of editing and creating an assignment. For Schoology, after you select whatever you're assigning from CK-12, it drops you back. It takes you kind of out of that flow, and then if you want to continue editing, you have to click on that assignment and click edit. So that's what I did here. One thing you also want to notice is that by default, the grading is not turned on. So if you want scores to be passed back, make sure you click this or check off this box. And of course, you can change the title. Give it a category. I think it's required. If you leave it at ungraded, it does like something funky in the gradebook. So I usually just give it a category. And then I'll click save. And so that was our Plix assignment. Just going to change the title. So that's creating a Plix. I'm going to go back and create another assignment. And again, this is the same app for Canvas and Schoology. So I know I didn't cover a lot within Canvas, but the flows are exactly the same within the app itself. So now let's go to this library. And one thing that's pretty common is you guys may already have custom Flexbooks in your accounts. So what I'm going to do is show you how to assign something from there. So let's go ahead and do this. Government. And so one thing you'll notice, you cannot assign the entire book itself. And that is the same within CK-12 in general for our own classes. So what you can assign is the individual sections themselves, kind of where the meat of the content is. Once you get down to something that you do want to assign, click on this create assignment. Oh, okay. Looks like running into a little bug. Let me go back. Well, let me try this one. But basically, for the sections themselves, once you get to a Flexbook, you go to the section that you want and click on Create Assignment. And then again, there's this extra step you have to do of turning on the grading to make sure that you actually get the score submitted after the assignment's created. And so now I'll show you guys one more. So here, I'll just do arithmetic. Just because that Plix opened in a new window, I'll just show you, let's do a video. So they all pretty much have the same, there's this create assignment kind of link or action over here. You just click on that, and then that creates the assignment. So kind of once you have these, just make sure, again, enable the grading, give it a category, and then save. And that's it as far as creating the assignments. Let me quickly jump over to a student account and show you what that looks like. Schoology. Okay, so I'm back in that class. I'll show you a practice. So these are assignments that were already in the course. So this is kind of looks like what we saw earlier when we were looking at the Flexbook 2.0 section. The difference is for this one, there's no other page to navigate to. Once they go through and do the practice and they kind of get back here, they have the option to turn it in. And they want to make sure they click on turn it in order for that score to get submitted. But down here you see they have their attempt information, same report that we saw earlier. So this is a practice that's been assigned. Let me show you. Where's our Plex? Oh, we also have a simulation, kind of similar to as assigning a Plex. It's another interactive. And so when you're coming into any of these interactives, you'll see kind of some messaging saying you have to interact with the sim or the interactive in order to turn it in. So I'm going to skip this guy. So once you're here, basically they just kind of want to see that you're actually interacting with this. So once you get there and you see this turn in button, they can click on that to submit, and that sends the grade to their grade book. And then one quick thing I'll just show you. So for the reads, your Flexbook, not 2.0 but 1.0 section and videos, there's no actual turn-in button. They basically get credit as soon as they open the assignment. They'll get basically like 100%. So whatever the total point value that you've set, they'll get full credit. That's for anything that's a read, a video, even our real-world applications. They all kind of work the same. So it's like as soon as they open it up, and I'll show you, I think this is the video, they get full credit. And there's no turn-in button per se. But for our interactives, like our Plex and the sim I just showed you, and of course the quiz and the practice, and then the new Flexbook 2.0 sections that have either a practice or a quiz tied to them, there's an actual like step they have to do in order to turn it in. So this is the video. And then real quickly, this is just the gradebook. The one thing that Schoology does not have is the report URLs. So what we're trying to do is make it so that as a teacher, you can still access those reports. So currently, even if I can switch over and then I'll stop for questions. I'll show you the teacher account. But unfortunately, within Schoology, they don't accept like a report URL. This is kind of the weird thing. This is that no grading period thing I was mentioning. So I didn't set one, so I had to go to no grading period. So it kind of looked like there's nothing there at first. But as you can see, there's no, like if I click on these links, it's just going to launch the assignment. So there's nowhere for you to access any report URLs, but we're working on a way to kind of make that possible for you guys in Schoology. Luckily for you Canvas guys, you already have the support. So so I'll go ahead and stop here. I know I went kind of fast, but we'll take questions.
Okay, I know that we have a couple of people that may be heading out, so I'm going to actually just steal the screen for a second and note two things, and then we will stay on and answer any extra questions that are still coming in. So one, this is part of the Certified Educator program, so two things that might be useful for you are, the first is the resource page. So that has the first page on Schoology, the second page on Canvas. It has information on installing, the types of modalities you can assign. There are differences in that, so just kind of keep that in mind as you think about what you're assigning versus sharing. The other thing is our feedback form, which is in that section in the CEP Flexbook or at this tiny URL. So please let us know what we can continue to do to make this better, explain more pieces. We truly appreciate any thoughts you have. So if you need to head out, I know it's been about 30 minutes or so feel free to do so. You can email us at Jumpstart with any questions, share your stuff on social with hashtag CK-12 certified, and we can continue to kind of answer questions as we go. So one of the questions that we have is, are all modalities accessible through Canvas on an iPad? Our content is accessible across devices. There are restrictions kind of with the screen size, so some of our interactives don't work really well on a phone, but you should be able to use anything from that point up. And then we have a couple specific questions that I'm going to pass off to Felix because he knows these integrations really well. And the first one is a question about, if I'm not using the gradebook feature in Schoology, would it be better to run my class and assign work directly from the CK-12 platform or still use Schoology? So I'm going to pass that off to you and let you try to answer that one.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, if you're not using the gradebook, I would, well, that depends. So you have a couple options. Yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense to me. If you're not using the gradebook, that's kind of like one of the biggest things that people kind of run to our integration for, is that they don't have to set up classes within CK-12, and the other is that they get the grades sent back to their gradebook. So if creating classes isn't such a big issue for you, we have a couple ways for you to import rosters and kind of do some bulk account creation there. I would say go ahead and use CK-12 directly. That might be easier. And there's an option to even export the grades from the reports as a CSV file. So I'm not sure if the LMS or the grade system that you're using supports CSV upload, but using CK-12 directly may be a better option for you. So I might lean more that route than going directly or using us through Schoology for your case. And then there's another question: can we still see individual mastery levels through Schoology? Yeah, so I think that would be more of the report that I was talking about. So currently, as you saw, Schoology doesn't have a support for kind of us posting that link to the report, but we're trying to get a way to sort of give you guys access to that. One of the things that we're thinking is if you click on the assignment as a teacher, instead of taking you to that assignment directly, we prompt you to, if you want to see the report or preview the assignment. So something like that, even so that way, if Schoology does add the support for it, it'll be there. But if not, you still have a way to access those reports. And in those reports, you'll be able to see a lot more detailed information.
Thanks, Felix. It looks like we have cleared out our queue. If we missed anything, I think there's a couple of questions in the chat, so make sure that you're putting those in the Q&A as you work your way through so we don't miss them. Adaptive practice is different than a quiz. Adaptive practice has that goal of 10 correct. A quiz would be kind of a true assessment score based on the questions that you pick within that. We're doing a whole session on quizzes and customizing a practice tomorrow afternoon, so we recommend you join us for that one as well. But if I missed any other quick ones in the chat window, feel free to reach out to us at jumpstart@ck12.org. And it looks like we're getting a last couple of questions in Q&A. You can assign just adaptive practice. You do not have to assign it separately within a Flexbook. And quizzes can be added to Canvas. So what you would do is you would make a quick custom quiz within your library in CK-12. So you as a teacher would do that work in CK-12, and then it would be available within Canvas or Schoology to assign. And if you assign content into Canvas or Schoology, you would see all that student report within Canvas or Schoology. You're not going to see that in CK-12. You don't want to create a class in CK-12. You don't want to have student reports in CK-12 because kids will be turning stuff in all over the place. It'll be super complicated. So if you assign content to Canvas or Schoology classes, please make sure you're looking for student reports there. We are, as Felix said, working to get you more information for Schoology, especially because that has limited options at this point. So I think with that, we're going to wrap up today. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you on a future webinar.